Today, we're taking a wild ride into the world of budget keyboards with the internet's favorite contender, the Ola F75. But here's the twist. I took this beloved keyboard and utterly destroyed it so you don't have to. Why? To unearth a valuable lesson about the importance of switches and how the right switch selection can make or break your typing experience. Stick around because we're diving deep into whether clicky switches are truly a typist's best friend. First, so what's the big deal about the Aula F75? Well, let's geek out for a second and take a look. First of all, it's got an incredible sound and feel. This keyboard boasts a fantastic thocky sound that feels oh so satisfying with every keystroke. It's got a gasket-mounted PCB, and while the gasket mount might have some inconsistencies, it still offers a gentle flex that's different across various areas of the keyboard, adding a bit of unwanted character to your typing experience. Next, it's got a die-cut PCB. This design choice adds extra bounce and flex into the PCB of your keyboard, making the typing feel a little bit more dynamic and cushioned. It's got a knob. Yes, it has a knob. Let's be real. I occasionally like to give that little guy a spin. It's oddly satisfying, but it's used to control both the volume as well as the LED modes on your Aula F75. South-facing LEDs. My version comes decked out with these LEDs, giving it a sleek look without the annoyance of keycap interference, but depending upon your keycap and switch combo, south-facing or north-facing might be your preference. We have multiple layers of foam, and this means that it sounds better and more dampened overall, and it adds to the really solid feeling of the Aula F75. Another feature that we've all come to know and love is triple mode connectivity. That means you get Bluetooth 2.4 and wired, and you can connect it how you like. And here's the kicker. You can grab all of these features and all of this value on AliExpress for right around $60 with my link in the description. Now, with all of these benefits, you might be thinking to yourself, well, what is the problem with the Aula F75? Why would I want to spend more money for a more expensive keyboard if this offers so much value? Well, here's where the Aula F75 kind of get sticky, especially if you're a typist. It only comes with linear switches. Now, linear switches are fantastic for gamers due to their smooth keystroke and quick actuation, but if you're like me and you spend a lot of time switching, linear switches can be less than ideal. Now, hold on. Before you guys all jump into the comments telling me about how you can crush 150 words a minute on your linear switch equipped keyboard, remember that keyboards are just all about preference, right? And what I might hate on a keyboard might be something that you might love, and it's deeply personal. What might be a nightmare for some people could be someone's perfect dream. Now, I have a medical condition that affects my typing, and your situation might totally be different, and I'll touch on what my specific conditions are towards the end of this video. After being really familiar with this keyboard and changing it out to some tactile switches, which I found I didn't exactly love, I decided that I was on a quest for some clicky switches, and I was determined to tailor the keyboard to my needs, and I decided that I needed to change the switches of this keyboard out. Now, at the time of this, my clicky Otemu Gold switches were snug into my Aula F75S, and if you guys want a whole build about how I made a really thocky, really nice keyboard for under 70 bucks, go ahead and subscribe because I'm gonna be doing a video all about that. But I decided to harvest my old blue switches from my Royal Kludge RK68. Those were used, but they were still totally fine. And doing this, I knew two things. First, my RK68 typing experience back when I was using the RK68, I thought was fantastic. The typing was smooth and accurate, and granted, this was all before I ventured into other keyboard and switch combinations, but just from what I remember when I first got my RK68, I started typing on it and it just felt great. Really, really accurate, really, really satisfying to type on. So I thought I could get something similar. The next thing I knew is that the RK Blue switches aren't the best. These switches were definitely a downgrade from my Otemu Golds, but I figured they'd be better than the stock linear switches for typing at least. it's what I thought. Installing the switches was pretty straightforward. Just a bit of keyboard surgery and a little bit of magic, and poof, I've harvested all of my old RK blue switches, and they're now in my, as you can hear, they're now in my Aula F75. And well, we gotta talk about the aftermath, because after a few weeks of typing on my modified Aula F75, it really hit me like a ton of keycaps. I had completely ruined this keyboard by using those old switches. But here's the silver lining in just destroying the typing experience of this keyboard. It taught me a really valuable lesson. When it comes to typing, switch selection is paramount. Even though I adored a nice and tactile and audible click, my typing performance actually worsened with these RK blue clicky switches. And it was even worse typing with these clicky switches I thought were going to be great. That experience was worse than typing on the stock linear switches for myself. I was pretty shocked. Why was it that these switches that I kind of like, or used to kind of like, are just horrible for a typing experience? Why is it that I can't type accurately? And I actually diagnosed this down to a couple of key things. First, stem wobble. The RK Blue switches suffered from a significant amount of stem wobble. This means the stem part, you know, the thing that goes up and down in the switch, it had too much play inside the housing. The excessive movement led to accidental key presses, making my fingers actually kind of slip and hit other keys because there was so much wobble in each of the keycaps. It was really frustrating. The second thing was inconsistency across all of these switches. The feel of each of these switches was annoyingly inconsistent. Some keys felt clicky and responsive, other keys felt a little bit mushier and unresponsive. Some keys felt like they were really scratchy, some keys they felt like they were lubed, some switches felt like they were unlubed. Even though these are all unlubed switches, some of them just felt smoother. And I don't think I would ever buy a pair of non-factory lube switches ever again, just because with the inconsistency and the hassle of what these switches put me through, I really appreciate a higher quality switch and all of the other higher quality switches I've been using more recently. Now, the big takeaway from all of this, tactility matters. And I realized that what I truly value in a switch is the tactile feedback during the actuation. This is crucial for my typing comfort and even more important for my typing accuracy. I also learned clicky isn't always better. Even though clicky switches provide that audible feedback, they really didn't offer any typing advantage over the good tactile switches that I have. In fact, they made my typing experience worse due to their poor quality and just unbearable sound. If you're looking to get or build a keyboard, what I've learned is that it's really quality over everything. Especially if your main goal is typing. You really need to invest in a high quality switch and keycap combo in order to get that great typing experience. This is more important than the keyboard sound dampening or fancy features or having a screen or even the knob. The switches have the biggest impact on how well the keyboard serves its purpose as being a keyboard and an input device. Why are linear switches the wrong type of switches for me? Maybe they're the wrong type of switches for you. In 2015, I had a severe cycling accident that absolutely wrecked my right arm and wrist. It left it almost useless, and luckily, because of the power of modern medicine, 2 surgeries and a bone graft later, I have a titanium rod that goes from my elbow to my wrist, and I've got 10 screws. And because of that, I've lost a lot of feeling in my right hand, especially on my fingers, my pinky and my ring finger. My middle finger on my right hand is still got some feeling, but for me, what I need is that tactile actuation that's based on pressure in order for me to feel like I'm actuating a key. And if you're someone that has a similar predicament, or you need to know when you're actuating a key, linear switches are probably not for you, and you're probably in between tactile and clicky. So wrapping up, there you have it. My adventure in keyboard customization didn't go as planned, but it taught me something valuable about the importance of switch selection. If you're considering building or modifying a keyboard primarily for typing, don't overlook switches. They can make all the difference between a satisfying typing experience and a frustrating typing experience. And they can also have a bit of an impact on accuracy and enjoyment. Now, if you found this journey insightful, I'd love for you to join me on future keyboard builds or future keyboard projects. Hit that subscribe button and stick around for the next videos. I'm working really hard to get a bunch of content consistently on this channel, all about home tech, stuff like keyboards, desk speakers, amplifiers, etc. Now, my final question for you guys is, what keyboard, switch, keycap combo are you currently rocking? And have you ever experimented with different switches or stepping outside of your comfort zone? I'd love to hear about that, and I'd love to know what kind of switches you would suggest for me in the comment section down below. And until next time, peace.